Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Contiengecy Plan Podcast. My name is Jedi Master David, and with me, as always, is Darth Austin.
Hello, everyone.
So, big deal this week. Welcome to our all-fake movie poster podcast.
Woo. Can we have a combination Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings poster? Can that be a thing?
Well, I'm sure it's a thing. I'm sure somebody out there has done something like that.
No, I'm saying, can we make it an actual thing? You all write a movie script, just make a movie. A lot of copyright laws, but we'll figure it out.
Aragorn with a magic wand. Expelliarmus. Is that what you're trying to do?
I was thinking Harry with his sword.
No.
But okay.
No.
He wouldn't even be able to hold it.
Pretty sure Aragorn would kick Harry Potter into the next life. But anyway, no, we are a Star Wars reread podcast. Currently reading back through Dark Tide 1, Onslaught of the New Jedi Order. We are in, what is this, Chapter 12?
I believe
Chapter
so.
12. I know we've been kind of going mock names, but I feel like this is like, I don't know, Aunt Mara's time, or
Auntie Mara.
the day Anakin had to relearn everything, or that one time Aunt Mara got a little bit aggressive.
The one and only time.
Yeah. Well, anyway, yeah, we got a lot to talk about today, but start with Little Jedi Council. How's your week been going?
Been going pretty good. First week of overtime at work. Had a little boat show. The nightmare begins. This is my last easy day at work.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're heading into a season where everybody's gonna want to start getting their crap out of storage, right? And
this is the time of year everyone remembers they have a $50,000 boat just sitting in a barn somewhere.
Yeah, it's always fascinated me. I'm not much of a boating or a seafaring person, but they do cost a lot. Thankfully we're not in the era where everything's fiberglass anymore.
Yeah.
Which what was the old adage? I don't remember.
For boat, what it stands for.
Yeah.
Break out another 1,000.
Yeah, break out
that's
another
still
1,000.
A thing.
That's
still
what
a thing.
that's what I was trying to come up with.
Aluminum isn't cheap either.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true, but
it is. It's just inflated to a ridiculous proportion.
It's marine grade
Aluminum.
Yeah,
because aluminum rusts unless it's marine grade.
Yeah, whatever.
Actually, even they're going back to fiberglass because even on the new pontoons that used to be wood, it's now a fiberglass floor. It's like, can we just stop?
Probably lighter though, right?
Oh, yeah,
Much
it's
lighter.
gonna be. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I get that. So yeah, you're coming up on being busy. We had our first backpacking trip of the season week or two ago.
So nice.
Yeah, it was
cold.
Round trip 8 miles. Got really cold that night.
Shameless plug if you want to go ahead and do that. Good time for it.
Yeah, I will be posting kind of a video, a little bit of a walkthrough of some of that, among other things, on the Dave's 45 Auto YouTube channel. That's something I've been doing for quite a few years, mainly just eating military rations and going through stuff like that. But yeah, we're going to be posting some of that trail video once I get around to sort of editing it all, getting it all put together.
I think we're both getting a little burnt out on the military ration food and all that kind of stuff. Freeze dried too.
Well, yeah, I mean it's okay. It's food, but regardless of that, yeah. And then we'll just get our plugs out early. If you want to support this podcast on Patreon, we do have a Patreon page. You can just look us up on patreon.com. I don't know, / one of the slashes, the Contiengecy Plan Podcast.
Always go forward, right?
Yeah, maybe. But anyway, we have our Dinner with the Patron series on there. It's just a little extra content. If you want to support the podcast, we sit down, have a meal, and just shoot the breeze for the most part. And you can also check us out on Facebook. Make sure to like the Facebook page. You can send us any messages there if you want to comment on the podcast. Share your Star Wars story, or just chit chat. That's again, that's facebook.com. All the links are in the description for the show. And if you want to do a little bit more long form, we also have an email address, tcplanpodcast@gmail.com. I think that's all.
Flawless.
Right? Flawless victory.
That's coming out soon.
Yeah, I know.
They're starting to pop up with all the fatality videos on YouTube.
Yeah, I saw the recent one with Noob Saibot.
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. I've only seen Raiden's.
To be honest,
all right.
to be honest with you, I'm a little over it.
I think they're so focused on making the fatalities as visceral and
well, there's that, but there's
beautiful as possible
Yeah.
that they don't care about anything else anymore.
Well, there's a lot of like cutscene-y type things where like you break ribs, you break someone's face.
I don't like that, honestly.
So
the
I-
X-ray stuff has never been my favorite.
X-ray stuff, yeah. No, I still kind of get down with some of the older stuff. I think what was it? Mortal Kombat, like Ultimate 3 or 3 Ultimate was the one for
the
like
last one
Sega
for
Genesis
Genesis, I
that we
think.
really played a lot of. That had a decent amount of characters.
We had all 3 of the first ones, but I think that's probably the one we played the most. Yeah,
Yeah, I would say so. Cartridges. But yeah, I don't know. This week's just been work. Been working, not much else.
yeah.
So it's just another week down. Another week down in my ever constant marching life. It's good times.
You still
anyway.
looking for a new job, or are things going good with that?
Well, maybe, maybe.
Always looking, I guess. I mean,
Yeah. We'll see how that all pans out. But yeah, maybe. So yeah, you want to just jump into a little bit of
poster talk.
well, yeah, kind of HoloNet sort of poster talk. Obviously, the big story right now is there was a quote poster leak unquote for episode 9.
And that's all.
Yep, that's it. Next to reread. Yeah, no. So there was this poster that came out, and from what I understand, the account that dropped it is notorious for doing some fakies. And when I looked at it, I mean, it's cool. I mean, it's kind of a cool poster here. So let's just do a little description of it. So in the background, we have most of the ships. There's the Falcon to the left, an X-Wing.
Does the background itself kind of remind you of the core of the Death Star from
maybe.
Episode 6? Because it does to me.
Yeah. And then it has a few other ships on the right. We have an unidentified female in the background.
Mm-hmm.
Then Chewie and Rey doing Rey stuff.
Raylo.
No, that's stupid. I don't even want to talk about this dumb. Then some weird
Worm,
creature
larva thing.
from the Black Lagoon alien, and Finn with a blaster.
And the most important part of the whole thing.
Yeah.
What's missing from Chewie?
Yeah, his bowcaster.
Oh,
Because
there it is in the hands of
C-3PO. Yep.
And there's no R2-D2 in this, by the way.
Yeah, that was another thing. We'll get to some of the people that weren't here. So then we have Poe, and then behind him another unidentified masked female.
Kind of reminds you of the assassin from Episode 2.
Kind of, yeah.
Same kind of setup. We
Right.
do have BB-8.
Yeah, and then some other little droidy thing. And then obviously we have Kylo featured fairly prominently, and then to his left, potentially the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, the most important part of this poster, I would say. 'Cause
Well,
that's what I was
I-
excited to see.
I'll be interested to see if they actually really do anything with them.
And unnamed Stormtrooper 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, you have some stormtroopers in white, which kind of so, and then you have like stormtroopers in red at the bottom.
And no burnt up Captain Phasma.
Nah, yeah, I think
Disappointing.
she's dead. I think that was a
They're gonna
failed
bring her back.
experiment.
It was very failed with a lot of potential too, but we'll not get into that.
Yeah. So anyway, I mean, the poster itself is really, really busy.
It is.
So actually, let's get to the big thing. Who's missing? R2.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's a pretty big miss. Rose.
Yeah,
No Rose.
I'm okay with that. I think they'll still end up putting Luke in it, regardless, in the true poster.
I don't think they will.
Really?
I don't think they will because I think they want it to be a surprise. Ben wasn't in
True.
in episode 5's
True.
poster when he came back as Force Ghost. Neither was Yoda.
Yeah.
So I don't think that they'll have Luke. I think that'd be sweet, but I don't think that they'll have him.
I think with all the rumors of the flashbacks, it wouldn't surprise me if the actual poster would probably have Vader's helmet in it. Yeah. I don't necessarily want, but I can just see them doing that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe a side profile of Anakin. I don't know.
I don't think they'll incorporate Anakin. I think Anakin will probably make some appearance in here as maybe a Force Ghost, but I don't think it'll be that critical. At least for the poster. Yeah, I mean it's tough. It's definitely tough because I kind of feel again this is a hard thing to gauge because The Last Jedi really threw off a lot of the storylines that I saw coming from The Force Awakens. So things like the Knights of Ren, I think, are at this point could be glossed over.
We don't have Hux in it either.
Oh, good point. Yeah, Hux isn't in there, but you know what? I'll tell you what.
Truly our villain when you think about it, because I'm sorry, I just look at Kylo in this and think that's going to be our main villain. Good God.
Yep. No, I mean, I still want him to just be the villain.
He just isn't a main villain to me.
Oh, I think he can be. I just, I'm tired of the whole. Well, we need a Skywalker redemption arc.
No, you don't.
I mean, he killed his dad. He went the whole I have to rule the entire world thing. I don't really care about him enough. I mean, I like the character. I just don't care about him enough coming to the light side.
I hate to say it, there was kind of a Skywalker redemption arc with Luke, in a way, when you think about it. So,
well, I don't
coming
believe,
back.
I don't believe there was anything
rebellion.
to redeem personally.
No, but he didn't really want to deal with it,
which is fine.
He came back, and
I was cool with
he did
that.
help.
So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Obviously, we're gonna get a few new characters, but
isn't the poster larger than this? Because I've seen some on YouTube. Let me check.
I don't know. This is what I remember seeing. Now a follow up here. So somebody had tweeted at Mark Hamill.
Yeah,
and
that was interesting.
Right, and Mark Hamill comes back here with, I'm pretty sure that's just the wonderful work of a passionate fan.
Yeah, and in the tweet that I have on this article, it's he refers to it as a hashtag UPF.
Yeah,
which is kind of cute little Hamill talk for ultra passionate fan.
Yeah. So there was also somebody in this tweet chain who looks like they identified the two female characters here.
Oh, really?
I haven't looked at. So the masked one, Zori, and the woman in the back, Xana. Can
I see that picture a little closer?
Yeah, I don't really recognize characters, but I don't know every character in the universe, so yeah. I don't know. I know.
There's no Billy D in it either.
Well, we obviously know Billy D is going to be back for something. A lot of people downplay that, but I think it could be pretty pivotal
for it.
Personally, Mark Hamill also did a tweet here to another person, 3PO with a crossbow, okay, and then a little crying smiley face. He's cool. Yeah. I like to see him out there in social media. He's always funny.
He's about as playful as Luke, honestly, in real life.
Yeah. But, I mean, let me put it to you this way. Is the poster cool? Kind of. Yeah. I think it's too busy. When I looked at it, I was like...
service.
It's like, wow, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean, the more I stare into it, it's definitely fan service.
And, honestly, kind of a boring Rey in this. Like, I want to see a Jedi robe, honestly.
So the stance, you see the stance she's in?
Yeah, it's almost like Anakin.
No, what I'm saying is the stance. It is. We've seen that stance before. Why in the hell would you have your lightsaber like right next to your shoulder?
Yeah, and your neck too, for that matter, if it's leaned in.
It just sort of seems dumb.
I always thought that the worst stance was Anakin's. It's like, yes, I'm just going to hold it downwards and just, it'll work.
Yeah.
It'll be great. When I do a cross to block a bolt, I'll probably cut my shoulder off, but it'll be fine. It'll be great. Yeah.
So I don't know. I like I said, it was an interesting thing that was put out on the internet this week, and our friends over at Rebel Watch Podcast had a video about it as well, doing a little speculation. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, probably nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know.
It is a cool piece of fan art. I'll give him that. He probably put some time into it, but yeah.
Yeah.
Since he'll obviously be listening to us, I just wanted to,
Well, we have personal communiques, right?
It was us.
Oh, let's see here. I don't know. Did you find anything else?
The little droid was kind of interesting in a way. Didn't really.
There was this one little thing that obviously episode 9 is not going to be called this, but there was something speculating it'd be Star Wars Episode 9 Skywalkers.
Oh, well, we kind of glossed over a little bit. Did you click on the picture? There's more on the bottom.
The thing just popped up there at the bottom, so I can't see it.
Well, the red stormtroopers.
Yeah, that's what I said. There was red stormtroopers and white stormtroopers.
We do have what looks like the new. Is that the new TIE fighter in the bottom right corner? Because we did mention that.
Maybe, yeah, could be.
I don't see any other new ships though. Really, we have a Y bomber, a modified X-wing. I can't tell what that thing in the center is. On the right top side is what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
Left side is just Luke's X-wing by the looks of it, possibly, and then the Millennium Falcon. Yeah, no new ships. I have no idea what that little droid could be.
Well,
that might be fan-made.
Who knows? So, but yeah, I mean, kind of an interesting take on things. But like I said, I don't. It's obviously a faker. It's a fakey one. So another thing happened this week. I got my VIP pass for Celebration.
Yes, I saw a picture of it. It's glorious and very fitting.
Yeah, no, I opened the pass. Well, the whole thing was the darn thing was it was routed incorrectly. So what should have been like 2 days wound up taking like a week. Like it got lost in Pennsylvania for some reason.
I wanted to take a trip.
Yeah, apparently. But then, so I finally got it in the mail. Opened it up. You know, they put a little letter in there, just basically saying go to the VIP lounge, get your VIP stuff. Because I also with those tickets, I get like some like Celebration custom specific artwork prints or whatever, and then among some other little bobs.
It's gonna be similar to what you have on your bookshelf from that private,
which I'm finally
artist.
trying to get
hung up.
Well, that artist Brent Woodsides has done 2 or 3 Celebration prints. I mean, like for them. Like he's literally done the artwork for the Celebration prints.
So he's a big deal.
Yeah, no, he is. I mean, he's a good artist. But yeah, no. I don't know what I'm getting. I'm just going to be pretty excited. But anyway, back to the past. So yeah, I opened the little envelope and out pops Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
So you get your badge and it has a little design, but yeah, it was Qui-Gon Jinn. I was like, well, that's just fitting. And I mean, they have a couple of other designs and so forth, but apparently, I don't know if all of them are the same or if some of them have different designs. But
yeah, you'll have to check that out while you're there. See if you can spot anyone else with one.
Well, I was about to say there's
or
this.
Can you look them up?
No, there's this thing that popped up here.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, I don't know if this is specifically going to be like a poster, but so on the left you have like the light and the dark side split with a lightsaber in the middle. So on the left side you've got let's see, we've got Rey, Luke, Billy D, Yoda,
new light side user.
Yeah, no, Han, Chewie, Leia, R2. So that's cool. And then on the right side or the dark side, you've got Grievous, Darth Maul, a couple of stormtroopers. One of them looks like Phasma, Boba Fett, Kylo, the Emperor, and then Darth Vader. So yeah, I mean, kind of a cool. That would be honestly, that'd be a pretty cool.
I would
print.
take that.
I'm gonna probably spend some money on prints if they wind up being that cool. But yeah, I don't know.
If that's a thing you're buying me one, I'll get you back when you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. No, I totally am down with that.
I don't care if it's like $300. I'll take the largest one you can get.
Normally they're not that expensive, but I mean on the Millennium Falcon. I think I paid like $100 for that.
Yeah, it was worth it though. It was very well done.
Super cool.
Especially for a print.
For sure. So, but yeah, no, looking forward to that. That's actually coming up here pretty quick in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what city is that in?
Chicago.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
got
pretty cool. Are
got
you
hotel.
driving or are you flying?
No, we're driving.
Yeah, it wouldn't be much of a drive.
It's like a 4-hour drive. So yeah, got a little bit of a drive, and then we've got our hotels booked, and it'll just be a bunch of dudes in in one room, and we probably won't spend a whole lot of time there.
Yeah.
But they have been hitting the guests pretty hard. I was trying to kind of look up some of the emails. I've probably deleted a few of these, but I know we're going to have Hayden Christensen. I think we've said that.
Yes, we have. That was just announced recently, right?
Somewhat recently. The actor who played who voiced C-3PO. God, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. There's going to be a lot in the way of panels. I'm pretty excited
Billy
about
D
that.
going to be there as well?
I don't remember if I've heard that. If I saw anything.
Seem to
on him
recall
being
you
there.
saying that.
Maybe. Yeah, I think I've deleted a lot of the email. They send like weekly emails just updating on stuff. So, but it should be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Definitely looking forward to it.
Hopefully you get some coverage for it.
Yeah, I'll probably be trying to record some stuff. I don't know if that'll be video or audio. But
Maybe we'll just make that Patreon stuff. No,
nah,
we wouldn't do that.
I'll probably just put it out as I go. But anyway,
so this is going to be interesting.
what's that?
We're sharing a book. Not even sharing. It's just
I forgot my book. I looked down in my little pack that I lug all this stuff around with, and I was like, crap, I forgot my dang book. So yeah, we're gonna just jump into, unless you had anything else to talk about.
no. I'm ready.
I mean, it's been like 30 minutes and no Star Wars, so
we're not even talking
minimal.
about Star Wars. Oh wait, we are.
Yeah, we are. So yeah, we're gonna enter chapter 12. Kind of a relatively short chapter, but not bad.
Little
not a
Annie
bad
goes camping.
that's the title. I like it. Little Annie camping.
Little Annie learns how to pitch a tent.
Oh no.
With the Force.
Well, there was a
That
line
part
here
was
that I
funny.
got a
Well,
little chuckle out of, but
Yeah,
we'll
me too.
get into it. So anyway, the whole point is that Anakin and Mara they're going to Dantooine so that Mara can hopefully like regain some of her strength in a place that's not very technological and there's not a lot of life forms there. And Luke charged Anakin to go with her. He, obviously he kind of started thinking it was more like a punishment, but really it's sort of is, sort of isn't. Being the youngest kid, most inexperienced, you kind of get that kind of stuff.
Still being trained. And this would be a good training opportunity for him.
I don't know about you, but I found this chapter annoying. Like in
what way?
I was just, the way in which the lesson was taught. I got super annoyed with it. So we can discuss that, but I got annoyed by this chapter.
I don't know if I would say I got annoyed by it. There were parts I didn't quite agree with, but we'll get into that.
We'll get into it. So okay, well, Anakin Solo looked around. I guess, wow, we're not. It's not even late or anything, and I'm already screwing it up. Well, Anakin Solo looked around the Dantooine campsite, and slowly nodded.
Yep,
Great.
it's a campsite.
Literary, yeah. He stood there with his back to the dying sun, watching his shadow stretch out before him. He planted his hands firmly on his hips and felt pleased with the effort. He was pleased.
Didn't sound like there was much effort involved.
We'll get to that. He'd hauled all their equipment up from the Jade Saber while Mara rested after bringing the ship down in a narrow mountain canyon. He located the flat area at the top of the bluff, which made it very defensible and gave them a wonderful view of the lavender plains stretching out before a distant sparkling sea.
Majestic.
So I want to stop here just a second. So you remember the first time you watched the original trilogy, and Leia was captured, and Governor Tarkin was like, give me a target. And she says Dantooine. And then, of course, he's like, well, that's too small. We're just going to destroy Alderaan.
Yeah.
In your mind's eye, how did you imagine Dantooine at that time? Do you even remember?
At the time, I kind of guess I figured it'd be more like a mining colony, honestly.
Yeah, I kind of got this somewhat picture of like more of a barren world. But then we're talking now about lavender fields and sea. Yeah. So, a little different.
I mean, honestly, I guess...
A little different than I pictured it.
I guess you...
But they also
destroy
didn't give us
a
much
planet with billions, a few inhabitants, and a bunch of grass. Yeah, I'm going to pick Dantooine.
Yeah.
Hate to say it, but...
Well, anyway, actually, this chapter kind of enlightens about how much of a dick move it would have been.
Yeah, kind of.
Because there were people there.
Yeah, there are people.
So
Hoth would be a better move.
Oh, it's on Hoth. Come on, Leia. And again, this is the difference between like making a movie and the ideas of George Lucas and then this
expanding
book.
upon it.
So
sometimes is a problem.
It's possible in George Lucas's mind when he put that line in there that it was more like, oh no, it really is. It's a deserted planet, right? I would think so.
I just kind of imagine him reading this book and be like, "No, you're making my character look like a jerk."
Yeah,
it was supposed to be like just barren, no life.
Yeah, but anyway, there's lavender and a sea,
and
so
I
it's
just
good.
lost my headphones. Sweet, continue. Yeah,
come on, man, come on.
Time to upgrade. There we go. Time to upgrade from my 98s. It's worse. It's worse.
Yeah,
time to
you need
upgrade
to get
from my
better
98s.
headphones. Yeah, it probably is just fraying. We need to get you a better one. Okay, so anyway, he'd set up their tents, orienting Mara's larger one on the north-south axis that would make sure that the dawning sun would warm it, as would the setting sun. Well, he's just such a considerate little boy. His own smaller tent, why did it have to be small?
I don't know.
Set up across the clearing of hers.
She has a 2-person tent that's really for one, and he has a 1-person tent that's really for half a person.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well,
there were
Anakin,
no sales at Space Walmart that day, so they could only afford one full-size tent.
Exactly. Anakin looked forward to eating food cooked over an open fire. Yeehaw, Anakin.
MREs, yeah.
Space food. Oh, he knew that desire was kind of silly, but he thought it was fun and hoped Mara would as well. The purpose of their trip to Dantooine was to let her recover her strength, and we already said that. The native Dentari were simple people traveling along the coast in nomadic tribes with little more than primitive tools.
Yeah, blow them up, Leia.
Yeah. And again, it makes Leia seem more like a dick because it's like, well, there's people there, Leia. You couldn't have picked an uninhabited planet. But again.
But they were supporters of the Empire.
Yeah. There was a little bit of an interesting thing here. So he's basically thinking, he was fairly sure that the Dantari were, cognizant of an attack that did happen on the planet when Anakin was barely a year old. Given that the Imperials sent AT-AT walkers against the unarmed colonists whom the Dantari probably saw as intruders, and the colonists being not Dantari, it wouldn't surprise me to find the Dantari wearing emblems that reminded them of the walkers or the Imperial crest emblazed on the machines.
Which is all kind of just speculation. It's like he made it up in his own head.
Yeah, but
he doesn't confirm any of it in that statement.
But at the same time, basically what he's thinking is that, so there were there were rebels there. Mm-hmm. There was an attack on the rebels, but were the rebels the invaders? Who was the invader?
Yeah.
Who is the good guy? They wouldn't know. They're simple. They have simple tools and they're nomadic. It's great. Let's see. Gonna go ahead and...
You realize how hard it would be to still have, no technology in a universe like this.
Well, it's a big universe. I don't know. I think it could happen. It could definitely happen.
But like if both the rebels and the Empire knew of this place and it was untouched at that point, just
maybe.
Hard to believe.
But at the same token, here on planet Earth, there's still tribes out there that have zero contact with anybody. Yeah. So it's entirely possible.
It's kind of like that one Christmas show we grew up with where one of the islands was just, cavemen and stuff, and no one ever reached
What are
him.
you talking about, man?
I'm talking about that Christmas movie we watched. That was about New Year's.
The one that was different than the other ones. I don't know.
It was one of the claymation ones that they always had to watch. It had Little Baby New Year or whatever, and that vulture.
I think I
stole it.
remember what
Yeah.
you're talking about. I don't really remember it very well.
Okay.
Because I don't
Okay.
think it was one
I didn't
that
know
I
if you
cared
watched
about.
that as much. Okay.
Nah, I mean,
I had to watch that a lot.
Yeah, okay. Well, anyway, so let's get back on here. Anakin, don't do that. What are you doing, Anakin?
Just don't do anything. Just don't touch anything.
Well, Mara comes up on him. Let's see here. Anakin actually steadied her with the Force because she's looking like basically space trashed right now. You should have told me you wanted to come up here. I would have gotten you. And then, of course, this instantly just, irritates Mara. If I wanted help, Anakin, I would have asked for it. Well, geez, nice. Anyway.
Mara's special.
Yeah. Well, I get it,
How she was raised and, what she dealt with the Emperor. I mean, I can see how she's a little more rough with everyone.
Yeah. But being me, I'd been like, fine. Then I'm never helping you.
That sounds like an Annie move, not an Anakin move.
I can be pretty vindictive though, because it's like, oh, you want no help? Well, then you get no help. Mm-hmm. It's like, I don't know. People might not want to hear this, but it's like somebody in a wheelchair. You help them door. I didn't need your help. Well, fine. Open your own damn doors.
And we lost our entire audience.
It's nice to be nice, but when people don't appreciate it, well, screw them. Anyway. Let's see.
Intense. Something happened today.
Yeah. There's also a little piece in here where Mara wanted to land the ship, but Anakin did it.
That part kind of annoyed me. I'll give you that.
Well, it's like, listen, you're knocked out in the back.
It's like, it's my ship. No, you're not going to land. It's my ship. You don't just get to touch everything.
No, honestly, I don't really care about that. I mean, Anakin's an accomplished pilot. I think it was kind of petty.
Yeah, but at the same time,
who cares who lands the ship?
Yeah. It's important to her.
Well, it's important to her because
Like
Luke gave it to me.
You like how, like, the first book, they reference that he built it himself. And on this one, it's like, oh, he commissioned it to be built. It's like, well, which is it? I want to imagine him just with little space tools making a ship from scratch.
Well, it's like when you build a house, you go to a person and you pick out like the molding and the colors and stuff. Is that what he did? Well, she does kind of talk here a little bit about it. So the ship special to me, your Uncle Luke gave me the Jade Saber to replace Jade's Fire. She is real original with ship names. Jade's Fire. But you crashed Jade's Fire on purpose. I did. And had a good reason to do that. But that doesn't mean ...
I just kind of wish at that point they would have been like, in parentheses, if you want to know more about what happened, read this book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, give me a little citation there.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Jade Saber's so special. But you know what? We'll let Jaina do whatever she wants in it. But you,
Because she's my favorite.
girls only, no boys. No boys allowed in the pilot seat.
And don't even get started about your brother.
Again, this is what irritates me because if it were Jaina, at least in my opinion.
I expected her to be the one to go with him when they first referenced that, too. I'm kind of surprised.
Anyway, let's go on here. I tend to hold tightly to painful experiences and not to share them, so you couldn't have known. Emo much. And then, let's see. I'm going to go ahead here. She does, however, I apologize for being weak, for forcing you to be here with me instead of off doing important stuff.
Which is basically our way of saying, what you're doing here isn't important.
Yeah, even though Luke was pumping it up, and she's like, no, it's not important. But, he does kind of go on, well, Uncle Luke entrusted me, and it's important, and, don't lie to me, Anakin. The desire to be out here saving the galaxies, your blood so thick I can hear it screaming from here.
Blood rush. She really should be in a metal band with the way she talks.
But that is true. I mean, Anakin does kind of want to be the hero.
Yeah.
Remember the stuff with Kip and the flight music and, them playing Highway to the Danger Zone as they blasted off. And he thought that was, cool. It's cool, Dad. Can I have a ship next? Let's see.
No, you killed my best friend.
Okay. Yeah. So I do want to point this out as well. So Mara did sort of try and force a stool, like a chair, to herself. It kind of toppled over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
However,
I noticed
when Anakin then does the same, stop doing that.
Yeah.
Doing what? Trivializing the Force. Oh, double standard. I mean,
no one does that in the Star Wars universe.
And this kind of leaps on to sort of a, I don't know, I half get, and then the other half I'm like, I really don't agree with this very much.
I think we'll just preface that before we get started. If there's any Force philosophy that comes out of the mouth of anyone but Luke or Corran in this series, we just don't agree with it.
Well, the fact of the matter is that I've always said the Force is a living entity, and basically without its, quote, permission or consent, you wouldn't be able to use it, in my opinion.
Yep.
Because, I think it's an entity more so than just a force.
In a way,
field
it's
or
almost
whatever.
a symbiotic relationship.
It flows through you, it does. Penetrates you.
It eats the food from your stomach like a tapeworm, it does.
That's why you're all so thin. But in Mara's opinion, kind of overdoing it is trivial. It does trivialize it, which in a way is also true.
Like when Annie moved that pear to cut it for Padme.
Listen, people go nuts over that. I think it was kind of a derpy scene, but I don't care. Cut your pears, get a chair. Anakin was also like stacking things very precisely. Who cares? Who cares? Unless the Force just all of a sudden doesn't let me do it, whatever.
Yeah, the Force just cuts itself. I was like, no, you're done. No more pears for today.
That'd be fantastic. So again, there are some things that I agree with here in this next little couple whatever pages. And there are things that I don't. So let's just kind of work through a little bit here because it could take us a little bit. But the Force is this is Anakin. But the Force is a Jedi's ally. It's something we use. Size matters not. If I'd not used it, I would have had to break a sweat. Is what Mara then comes at. So, the Force is a Jedi's ally. Correct. It's something we use.
Incorrect.
Size matters not. Well, I don't think that's what she said. Anyway, that's not really part of it. So let's see here. So Anakin does say, well, he did use the Force to bring all the stuff. It was half a kilometer back in the canyon, hauling stuff out. It had been hard work, blah, blah, blah. Let's see here. Let's go to some Mara quotations. You quote Master Yoda that size matters not, but that was used to tell Luke that he had to banish self-doubt. You're using it as an excuse or challenge. Now, Yoda did use that to effectively tell Luke, you're not putting enough of your faith in this.
In the Force.
In this hokey religion, And Anakin also does say something here about, well, Yoda lifted the X-Wing out of the swamp, and Mara says to make a point, which is very true.
Yep. And he kind of needed it.
Well, he did, because, Luke, again, he's older, and it sometimes is harder to teach older people new things, especially about this all-knowing, penetrating Force that you can somehow harness. And,
he has no reference on that at this point,
right?
Except for what old Ben would have showed him, which wasn't much.
No, just a little drone thingy shooting bolts at him.
And the whistling. Wow.
Oh, God. Yes, the Force whistle. But no, I mean, he did use that as a tool to get Luke to understand what the Force could do. It wasn't showing off, but it was to prove a point. Because Luke had tried, and he had failed, and he had just stopped. Because he was like, no, it's impossible. That's impossible! So anyway, let's see. Getting back here to make a point. And then Anakin says, and I've mastered it.
Yeah, that one was funny.
So, she comes back, have you now? Well, I mean, I've been trained to it. I know how to use it. And again, there's that word use.
Difference.
So again, you're dealing with a young
Cocky.
sort of Jedi. He's inadvertently cocky. He's more confident because he was literally brought up in it. And there's a difference.
To me, I don't really see the point in that.
Yeah.
Luke wasn't brought up in, and he's 10 times the Jedi any of them will ever be.
Well, I know, but it was more natural to him because it was something that he had seen throughout his life. So it wasn't just like an automatic throw it on here. Oh, look, guess what? Force. No, he had known. He had been taught all of his life.
But that's also a crutch in a way.
True.
Kind of gets to that.
Yeah. But again, there's that use, and I've mastered it. No, you've mastered simple things, but you haven't mastered being a Jedi. And again, the word use is just incorrect. Mm-hmm. Think, Anakin, how often do you see your uncle use the Force in raw displays of strength? Well, not much these days, not since the war ended, which again would be true. Mm-hmm. And basically, what Mara's point here is that. And I'll kind of paraphrase a little bit. So she's trying to say, those who depend on the Force solely don't get the benefit of knowing limitations of themselves, potential. Their own physical limitations, their own mental limitations of others. Mm-hmm. And that's important because knowing your limitations and being able to perceive the limitations of others can then bring you into how much you can help, should help in certain situations.
Which Luke had the advantage of, going through that. He lived a large portion of his life not knowing about the Force. He knew his own limitations.
Using the Force isn't the only answer, Chewbacca didn't use it, and he saved your life, your father's life, and countless other lives. Oh, for God's sake, let's keep talking about it. Don't be trying to tell me Chewie's death isn't my fault. So it's going back.
Which has nothing to do with what she just said.
Well, but again, Chewbacca, he's going to get defensive about it because, he apparently, in this book, he does feel it's all his fault still. It's good. And don't try reversing things around and talking me into defending myself either. I may still be young, but I'm not stupid. I know you're not stupid, but you are naive. And then she also says the expression of outrage is very becoming. So this is this is an issue that I think we run into a lot with like school age children and adults because adults have experienced so much more. A lot of times they push that onto young kids and make them feel inadequate. Mm-hmm. This is kind of what annoyed me a little bit because I remember as a kid, like there were times when people would say, based upon their experiences, and although they were right, sometimes, not all the times, most time, that, what you feel is a dilemma isn't really a dilemma. Mm-hmm. But to how old is he? 14, 15? 15-year-old kid, it's different. There's a different lens to this. Yeah. So kind of rubbing it in his face, I don't feel is the best way of going about things personally.
I agree.
And again, you've just came to this planet. You're telling him not to do something that he's acclimated to do. You're not explaining it yet, and then you're rubbing it in the whole Chewie thing.
Mm-hmm. Which really shouldn't be brought up in this type of lesson at all.
I don't think it was necessary.
A better example would have been his father at that point.
Maybe. So then Anakin comes back. I'm not naive. I've been in the thick of things since I was born. I've grown up on Coruscant, and then at the academy, I've been around, And then she says, not my point. You spent your whole life involved with the Force. It's made you weak. So in a way that's right and wrong. I think it all depends on your perception of the
Weak.
Yeah, well, your perception of weak and your perception of living with the Force. Because Anakin literally in the last book did something that, that hive mind thing that
One had done.
nobody had really done. And so he had done that through living through the Force and having maybe a deeper understanding of some things.
And you could argue that with Old Republic as well. Even going
Sure.
back to Mace Windu mastering Vapod, living in the Force as long as he did. And he was a little bit older himself, actually. So,
Yeah.
and Luke really never came up with something new. He just mastered what was already taught to him.
True.
So there are advantages to living in the Force as
Right.
long as they have.
So, but again, it, kind of the name calling thing, it doesn't always really, okay, so you're naive. Yeah, he is naive. There's no doubt about that. He's too young to be wise. It's the same thing
You
with
can't
Jason.
expect him to be.
No. But basically, and this might be the blunt side of me, get to your freaking point.
Yeah.
Because the point is that he's you don't understand what you're capable of without the Force. And that's getting back to what we had already kind of stated. You don't know if you could have humped all those crates up here. You don't know how much you would ache or sweat in doing it. You don't know how long it would take for you to pitch the tents, the fire pit. Did you scoop out? Did you scoop all that out with a shovel? Did you place the rocks by hand? Which he said no. And this is another thing that kind of irritates me. So he says no and then but. So there are a couple things that I've picked up through in life where, if somebody says, well, honestly, usually, sometimes what comes after that is a lie or a justification for something that you've lied about. But when you say but, that doesn't always, it's not always a bad thing. It's like, it's a bad movie reference.
Yeah.
Where, because I'm sure you guys understand, that in movies, what happens in movies is not real.
Yeah.
Okay. And some of the tropes, the classic tropes that are written about in movies are also not gauged in real life. They're used for an effect.
Yeah.
So let's see here. So Mara then says, after he says, but, I was taught a long time ago that whenever someone uses the word but, it means he stopped listening.
Which I don't believe is true.
Yeah, we'll continue. It also means those he's speaking with tend to stop listening. I know what I'm telling you isn't easy to hear. That's probably the reason for that, don't you think? So essentially what that is discouraging
Free thinking.
Well, it's discouraging the back and forth, the argument, the debate.
Yeah.
So it's saying that
Agree with me.
yeah, and that's actually the biggest thing that irritated me here. So yes, your lesson is valid, but at times, again with younger kids, sometimes they have something correlated in their mind that might not be what you think it is. But to instantly shut him down here without even hearing it, it's not proof that he isn't listening. It's proof that you're not willing to listen to what he's trying to bring to the table.
And when teaching younger kids, you have to explain things to them multiple times
So
through their arguing and debating.
Right. And
So-
I'm really not trying to tear down Mara here. I do get her point, but I also think it's valid to allow him to work this out on his own. It might be a little bit long game, but that's what being a teacher is. And if you're trying to teach him a lesson, especially something as important as the Force and limitations, you have to kind of go about that in a different... And this is just my opinion. You guys can totally
And can you
disagree.
read into this chapter and just kind of see that being the theme of them in this entire book, and that's going to be the lesson he learns at the end?
Maybe.
He's going to be thrown into a situation where he can't use the Force,
Yeah.
and he'll have to learn to adapt.
But this
without
is
it.
something that we've talked about, though. Okay, I'm going to backtrack just a wee bit. So you remember back when we had our first sort of encounter with Anakin and Jason, and Anakin was practicing with one of the remote devices, and Anakin is worried about piloting. and all this stuff. And Jason says, no, just force it. Just force it all. So I feel like this just might be bad writing, personally. But Anakin has done these things to hone his reflexes.
And he's trained more than the other siblings as well, based on that.
So I get that, humping stuff and figuring... So maybe he hasn't pushed his limitations, but he has honed the physical skills of certain things. So again, I think
he's
it's getting...
disciplined in his training.
Yeah, I think it's getting a little too general here, but let's go ahead and continue on.
Now, if he's like a string bean and he never trains, then yes, he should probably be moving everything in that camp, but something tells me he's not.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. So I don't know. Maybe I guess part of it is that when you're making it sound like I'm not a good Jedi and that I'm doing things wrong, it means I'm a failure. And then he doesn't say this, but he thinks it. And that maybe Chewie would be alive if I'd not failed. So she kind of honestly sort of glosses over that a little bit and then launches into her story. You may not realize that my early training consisted of much more than learning to harness the Force. Running, climbing, fighting, learning to move silently, swimming, zero-G fighting, and movement. Everything that would have been made easier by using the Force. I didn't allow that, though. Why not? What value was there in me learning to rely on myself? You learn your limits. And then she says, yes, and you also learned that what others were capable of and who didn't have the Force. So he just says this whole thing. Actually, you know what? He fell silent as he thought. Okay, so that whole thing was internal, I guess. It's in quotation marks. That's why I thought it was something he said out loud. Because generally, if they're saying it in their head, they italicize it. Yeah. So part of this was he fell silent and thought, and then it says that whole part that I'm not a good Jedi and I do things wrong, it means I'm a failure. Those are in quotations. Yep. And then italicized, and that maybe Chewie would be alive if I... So I feel like that's something he said. But maybe that's not the way the writer intended. Maybe? What do you think?
Let me see it myself real quick.
Yeah. Editor's choice, huh? You know where it is?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, and that maybe Chewie, that's internal. I would take that
but
as
the things in quotation, you think that he physically said those? Because I feel like
I can't read that in any way but an internal dialogue.
Not the italicized, but the things in quotations, like the. So he says, "I don't know, maybe," and then it says he fell silent, and then that stuff in quotations before the italicized stuff.
They do make it seem like he's saying it. To me.
I don't know. It maybe it's more internal because the response doesn't seem to jive. Anyway, we'll move on. Let's see here. Mar continues, right, which means you can gauge how much you need to help them, which is interesting. Hold on, gotta clear my throat. Anyway. Too many Jedi Knights become wrapped up in the fact that they can use the Force, and they employ it as if it were the solution to every single problem there is. This is why Kip and his followers are so stiff and cold. They come into situations without having any appreciation of what the people can do. They come in and impose a solution. It might be quick, it might work very well, but is it the best solution?
Kind of made you think of the scene from The Last Jedi, huh? With Luke and... the little village.
The deleted scene that should have been in the freaking movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. With the fish people. I love that scene. That was a good scene. Let's see. Which is very true. Which is something that Luke's identified within these guys. They're too quick to rush.
Yep.
To rush into a solution. So they're very correct. Now, this was interesting. So she brings up this exercise that Anakin had been a part of. Do you remember the Tanab exercise, the problem about the flood that you were asked to attack as part of your training? Anakin nodded, sure, I got high marks on that simulation. I looked over the data we were given and realized that it was possible to trigger a rock slide that would dump metric tons of rock in position to shore up a levee. It stopped the flooding from wiping out the village. I just used the force to loosen some rocks and started the slide, and everyone was saved. Woo!
Yeah.
Problem solved, America.
But wait,
There's
more.
So tell me, Anakin, in that example, why was the Tanabian village in jeopardy of being flooded? Okay. Well, it was built in a low place. I love that answer. It's like such a kid answer. Had it ever been flooded before? I don't know. You didn't check the history? I know the local history was part of the files. Anakin shrugged. I guess I didn't think it was important because the flood was the main problem. That's where you're wrong. The main problem was people building their homes on a floodplain. They were doing that because off-world land speculators had bought up their ancestral lands in hopes of luring Alderanians. I'm going to say that because I have the only book and I can do whatever I want. To establish a colony. God, my pronunciations are great. What's wrong with my brain? Greed was forcing those people to build in undesirable places. You might have been able to stop the flood this time, but what about the next time or the one after that? Stop here. So you have a flood coming. Do you help the people, or do you stop and think, well, they built it on a floodplain, and what's going to happen next time?
What was going to happen?
So before reading more, the moral dilemma. So let's do the exercise here. So you have a group of people that built their homes in a floodplain. Stupid.
Very.
But they did. There's a flood coming. Do you save them, or do you not save them? I mean,
kind of gets into a bit of a gray Jedi.
You're
moment.
a Dark Lord of the Sith, so I mean, you would just kill.
to
You would probably kill them and then let the flood wash the bodies away, right?
No, I'd want to leave the bodies there.
God,
to scare away people.
No, but
I mean, I'm trying to think of this as more of a gray Jedi, and how they would be led into this situation. I would say that yes, you would want to save them, but I wouldn't have done the rock slide thing.
Okay, so let's continue here. And your solution, dumping the rocks, worked, but it left the people in the village without any commitment to your solution. Mm-hmm. You saved them, and they would have been grateful, at least until the next time disaster loomed, and they'd wonder why you weren't there to save them again. Anakin asks, well then, what's your solution? She laughs at him, which is kind of, shut your weak mouth. Anyway, again, it's like, well, I'm not going to go too far. I think it's just crappy writing in this particular. This book is bound. I feel like this was like
good.
I feel like this was written like each chapter was written by a different person. I think Michael A. Stackpole is literally like 4 people. It's very
and one of
strange
them
to
is
me.
Ryan Johnson.
No, God. Not one I think your uncle would have considered suitable Jedi. Suitable considered.
Yeah, it's
okay.
It's wrong. I noticed that too.
Yeah. But after I'd convinced the speculators that I was going to cut deeply into their profit margins, okay, I'd have helped evacuate the village. Then I would have been there and helped the people who wanted to fight the flood to shore up the levees. I wouldn't have done it for them, but I would have helped them help themselves. So there's the distinction. Do you...
Yeah, and I agree with helping the people. That's more of a gray Jedi way than to just take over the situation and be like Big Brother and be like, oh, no,
Right.
I got this. You don't know what you're doing.
People are kind of funny like that. And this is why... No, you know what? I'm not gonna say anything that I was gonna say. This is why, people who... No, I think I will say it. I think I will say it.
It's our podcast. We can say what we want.
Yeah, well, this is why I think that relying on government is not a good thing. Mm-hmm. Because the more you tend to rely on an entity to do all of your, to do what you need done,
The more sloppy you get as a person.
well,
you take
yeah,
initiative to
and
take
then
care
the
of
more
yourself.
the more ticked off you get when they don't do it or don't do it right or don't do it the way you think
to
it
your
should be done.
specifications.
So then it just winds up being one complain fest. So it is better to be able to do things yourself, but although,
You have limitations. Though.
well, if you were to go out and patch the road yourself, you think,
you have limitations.
well,
You're not a road crew.
You can do whatever you want to do, just don't get caught doing it. Anyway, you didn't hear that from this podcast.
Why is there just gravel right in front of this person's house? Why is there a bunch of gravel everywhere? Because you don't fix the potholes.
This is nice patchwork. We'll have to give that crew a raise. No!
Hey, you in that house, your taxes are going to raise.
No. But if you had access to the Force and you can save them, don't you have the responsibility to do so? So this is Anakin's question. So
Do you?
Well,
before we
hold
go
on.
ahead.
She already kind of explained that, yes, that is true. She would just help them.
But you don't have a
different way.
responsibility to take over for them. You have a
Right.
responsibility to help.
So
Definition of help is not to take care of the problem without anyone else lifting a finger.
True. So she continues, good question. Follow it, though, to its logical conclusion. These are sentient beings. They know they've built their homes in a floodplain. They know that they will be flooded out. Are you responsible for protecting them from their own decisions? Anakin, I can't let them die. So you know what is better for them than they do.
I wouldn't necessarily say that. You
maybe
just
not
value life.
Maybe not the best lining and questioning, but he then says, in this case, yes, he stared off into his ocean day. Don't I? And then he questions himself. He says, don't I? If you start thinking that you know the best for people and denying them the chance to make their own errors, and then Anakin finishes off, using the Force becomes, this is actually where I kind of get a little pissy, but anyway, I'll explain myself. Using the Force becomes easy, and if you are confident you know what is right, you're making yourself the center of reality. That's just selfish, and selfishness is a core of evil of the dark side. Now, let me slice this down the middle. You're making yourself the center of reality. So yes, if you think you know better than what everybody else does, then yes, that's not good. But you do have the right to have a little bit of selfishness. Mm-hmm. And being slightly selfish in certain scenarios does not mean that you have the core of evil. It's just a wording thing.
If you give the people the option to evacuate and you assist them in that, you're not being, you're not deciding that you have full control of those people. You're just giving them a way out. That's not the core of evil.
But at the same token, you can choose not to participate.
You could.
Okay.
And that kind of goes back to a very important scene in the Star Wars movies, Qui-Gon's first interaction with little Annie.
Right.
What does he say to him when he asks, can you take me with you?
Yeah. I mean, that's not what they were there for.
Exactly.
So it's not that you, and again, this kind of goes back to a somewhat of an argument that have been popping up in these books about, that was running through a little bit of Jason's logic. Well, Luke and Leia, they've done everything for everybody, and they haven't had any times himself, which is true. When we get into the new movies, I've never seen the problem in Luke going off to Octu. I never really saw the wrong, the quote wrong in Yoda sequestering himself off at Dagobah. Mm-hmm. Why? Because we can make those decisions. Yep. You don't have to help everybody all the time. You can't. Well, and then conversely, you don't have to put yourself in the scenarios that would have to have you help people all the time. You can be a little selfish and not be dark side.
Think about it this way.
It's just a wording thing.
Think about it this way. If every person you walked up to asked you for $1 and you eventually gave all your money to those people, you then can't help anybody, including yourself. So at that point, you've helped a few people trivially.
Right.
But then you have no power to help people afterwards.
True enough. It's kind of a moral
I can
dilemma.
see some of her points.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he does have a moral stance that he can't He can't just let them die.
He just needs more experience.
Yep. But you have to think of, long term as well,
Right.
You can't, like with little Annie, if he had just been taken off of that world, but then Qui-Gon dropped him somewhere, like, all right, figure it out, kid. Is that really helping him?
Right.
Because what happens to him at that point? Is he in a worse situation than being a slave?
True enough.
You have to think
Well,
long-term.
his slave life wasn't all that bad, really.
Well, yeah,
I mean, he was
if
still a
just drops
slave.
him into
but
a forest and then gets eaten by a creature. Like, is that better?
So anyway, let's go ahead and finish this off. I'm going to read through a little bit more. That's very good, Anakin. We have to be responsible for ourselves, our actions, and our responsibility to society. Usurping someone else's personal responsibility, though, denies them their sentience. It's right and good to help someone who cannot help themselves, but forcefully shielding them from consequences of their actions, no matter how foolish, is wrong. Mm-hmm. And then Anakin, but if someone is drunk and pulls a blaster, and he says, wait, I know. No matter what, he's still going to have to be responsible for his actions, but stopping him would be helping those who are helpless, his potential targets. That would be my read on it. Yes. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. It's not, and then he says, it's not easy to see that fine line there. No, it isn't, but the fact that you're willing to look is a very good sign. Now, I've decided I'm strong enough to go help you lug back firewood. We'll actually be carrying it, right? Yeah. I think the idea of coming here to Dantooine is good. Good for both of us. I'll learn my limitations, you'll learn yours, and when we're done, we'll both come out of here stronger than anyone could have expected. End of chapter.
What did you think of the chapter?
Like I said, it annoyed me. I had some annoying points. I think it was more to do with the writing.
Yeah.
And
they didn't portray Mara's philosophy in the best way they could.
Well, it I don't know. Yeah, I
There's
just
a little bit too much bickering back and forth like children.
Little bickery. Like, listen to my point. It was just a little too strong. That whole listen to me. Don't basically don't infer your own in this particular scenario. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting. It was an interesting philosophical chapter. So I can get down with that. Mm-hmm. It's a change of pace.
Yep.
Well, it's a change of pace that isn't a philosophical argument from Jason.
Yeah, I think we've had enough of those for a lifetime.
We'll get more too.
Yep, we always will.
So anyway, guys, anything else we want to talk about before we sign off?
No, I think we did have a good debate on that episode, though. It definitely got us to...
Yeah, I think that was good. That was good.
Not too bad.
Alrighty, folks. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed yourselves here and continue along with your hour reread as we continue on through the new Jedi Order. Appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Have a great rest of your week.
And as always, may the Force be with you.